Hello, I'm Mitra Sorrells in the PhocusWire studio at Phocuswright Europe, and I am joined by Giancarlo Carniani. He is general manager of ToFlorence Hotels, a small hotel group that has 3 properties in Florence, as well as being a Phocuswright analyst. And you have also started a hospitality training program. You're very busy.
That's true. I'm very busy, but I like to do many things.
Okay,
I always like.
So we're going to talk a bit later about the hospitality program toward the end, but let's start by talking about Florence, because we spoke at the very beginning of the pandemic when Florence and Italy was sort of the epicenter of some of the issues.
When the pandemic was only there, only in Italy and China.
And much of the world, I think, foolishly thought it would only stay there.
Yeah.
And then we also spoke about a year later, about a little more than a year ago, for an update. So here we are again in person, finally.
Yeah. Fine.
So give me a sense of what is happening in Florence today.
Well, Florence now it's booming. Like many of the European cities, we were having a roundtable just a few minutes ago, and most of the hoteliers were saying that it's back to normal, but more than normal. I mean, it seems like a bounce of some kind where people have saved for 2 years and now they are traveling like crazy. I mean, and it's really full. I mean, it's 2 months that we are. Everyone, I think, has underestimated what was going to happen this summer.
So I know that when we spoke early on, as things were starting to come back, maybe that was about a year ago, you were saying that a lot of the business that was coming in was more local and regional, even walk-ins coming. Has your market expanded now to more?
Yeah. We have all the people from the US coming back, and Italy was one of the preferred destinations, as we can see. So at the moment we are full of Americans. I have to say we are still missing all the market of Asia, and we don't know what's going to happen there. I think it's going to take a couple of years more, but at the moment, yes, we still have a lot of Europeans traveling, especially in July and August, but let's say we have shifted to a more normal situation with very high rates. I mean, we have such a huge demand at the moment that rates has gone crazy.
And what about what's happening on the distribution front? Because I know there have been some different moments there as far as early on in the relationship with the OTAs, and then it was,
distribution in the past 2 years when we were able to open was 3 months in 2020 and 7 months in 2021 was mostly done direct, even or through our website direct, or with phones. I mean, people were phoning, walk-in, which was unexpected for some kind. Some of that has stayed. I mean, the website is still performing very well, and I have talked with many of the hoteliers locally, and they said they have the same trends. OTAs are back. Let's say the past 2 years was more Booking.com than Expedia. Expedia is dealing much with the American clients. Now it's back to them. Still, the tour operators and bed banks are starting slowly coming back. Not in numbers like before the pandemic, but they are slowly coming back.
And when you speak of people even calling, that makes me think of the other issue that we've heard a lot about, which is staffing.
Oh,
so
that's a very huge and big problem. I think everywhere, because first we were thinking, I mean, staying there and be local and say, oh, we have a problem here. No, it's everywhere. We see then airports have the same problems, and even the other countries, they have the same problem. We have discussed that with the hoteliers, and everyone has big problems. Most, let's say, operational staff, most of them, they have left this job during the pandemic, and they have found a different way of making their life. They're looking for time now. It's not more wages, but you have to deal with time with them.
But how are you managing that? I'd imagine you still possibly have enhanced cleaning protocols that maybe are here to stay. You're attempting to answer the phones, I guess, as people are calling to make bookings. How are you managing that?
It's really difficult sometimes
Yeah.
because we need some extra time for our usual stuff, which is not easy to obtain because people have rediscovered that life is not only working, but is some other things.
Yeah.
And I mean, hotels and hospitality, it's a work where we're open 24 hours, 365 days a year. So we have the shift. So people is considering other jobs. I mean, it's especially waiters or chambermaids. They really have a lot of problems in finding them. I know that in a few hotels, especially the seasonal one, the one at the seaside, they really had big problems. Some of them were they didn't know how to open at the beginning of the season because lack of staff. So it's something. It's not only because the pandemic has changed the mind of the people. It's really has changed everything. I mean, they have make a different distribution about their life.
Yeah.
And in hotels, we don't have the possibility to let them work from home.
Right.
That's it.
Right. So, one of the other things I recall you telling me that it seems to have changed, you said the definition of luxury has changed. I'm wondering if you're still seeing that because those properties in Florence are luxury properties. I mean, I've seen the one, it's beautiful. Are we now bounced back to where that desire for the traditional luxury is there, or is there?
I mean, luxury hotels are now doing very well because we have a lot of demand. But in the idea that in the behavior that we see from people, it's that luxury is something else now. So luxury could mean be in the middle of the Chianti area in undiscovered hotel with detox and no working telephone, and it doesn't matter if the room it's a luxury room or not.
Yeah.
So it's something different. I mean, people is looking for a lot of outside places. In fact, the hotels there are doing very, very well. Even the past 2 years when they reopened. So we have to reconsider that because it seems a different things for now to be in a luxury property.
And so, of course, I have to ask about issues related to over-tourism because, Florence is one of those cities that was dealing with a lot of challenges pre-pandemic. Now, as it's coming back, you said it's very, very busy right now. Do you sense, within the community and the government, is there a mindset to try to manage it differently, or is it sort of, let's just get everybody back?
I don't think they have used those 2 years to really think how to do that. They did have the time. I mean, if you see if you see what we have done in the pandemic, we had a lot of technology in which we should have used it better during the pandemic because I don't know if you have traveled during the pandemic, but I did, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And say, oh, come on, we have such big technology with an app, we can do everything. And now I have to fill this form to enter Spain, to fill another form to enter Germany, and then I don't know exactly what I have to bring with me, how it's working there and how it was working there. And that's quite the same for the government. I mean, they were crying when the city were empty because they didn't have city taxes, they didn't have that. And they had to use that time to do something better in order to, let's say, it's not crowded as before because some of the market are still missing. Like, for example, you see less people traveling with bus.
Okay.
Probably it's out of our behavior to be in a bus, even if now it's safe, you don't want to be in a big group. So we have more and more individual and less people traveling with a bus. So it looks less crowded than for that reason, but in fact it's still, I mean, they don't have done much about that.
Yeah, so still a challenge, I guess.
And you see chaos everywhere. I mean, if you go to an airport now and you see how they have underestimated the traffic, and they don't find staff as well. Airports have the
many
same problem.
airports are, yeah.
So
So I'm curious, we mentioned at the beginning that you're starting a hospitality training school. You said it opens this fall. I'm curious, with your years of experience, coupled with now what you have lived through these last couple of years, what are some of the main things you want to teach the people that will be going through your program?
let's say this idea had started before COVID, because we had already a trend of not finding many people in this job.
Okay.
Then the pandemic has made it huge, and it's so difficult to find. It's difficult to find people who are taking the leadership and responsibility of the jobs. So if you look for a F&B manager, for a revenue manager, for a sales manager, which are good jobs in good career where you can see the world, travel, make a very good career, you have a very hard time finding them. So the idea of creating an academic about that, it's really to work on the leadership of people, because it seems that the generation after me has a bit of a lack of responsibility. They don't want to take. And also the things that you need to know to be a manager of hotels are a lot. I mean, really a lot. You have to be an expert in digital, in design, in F&B, in maintenance, in finance.
Yeah.
Wear
many hats.
Many.
Yeah.
Many.
But so, again, I'm wondering if there's anything out of this experience, because this was such a shock to the system. Anything that now you can kind of look in hindsight and say, I want to make sure these people coming in understand, maybe that at any moment there could be a crisis, or like, how do you start to train people to?
I think it's important, for example, to have them very well trained in human resource.
Yeah.
Because my time as a general manager, if you ask me, what does a general manager does all the days? 95% of my time I speak with people. I talk with people, and I'll try to let them work in the better way they can do. And you need expert because it has affected me, this pandemic, and I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago, and everyone.
Yeah.
So you need to think out of the box. I'm following now, for example, what company, I don't know if you know the company 25 Hours. It's a German company. They have very good design hotels. Now they are spreading out and open all over the world. And what they have done after the pandemic, they have decided that people should work, because obviously in hotels we have to have people there.
Right.
And how can I do that? And so they have decided to pay the full wages, but to let them work 4 days a week instead of 5. And is a big change of mentality.
Yeah.
And but it's going towards the fact that people is looking for a different life.
Yeah.
And I think we have to start rethinking the whole system.
More creative solutions.
More creative solutions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it's very interesting. Well, it's great to see you in person and to catch up and to hear
finally,
the things.
Yes.
Yes, finally. Wonderful. Giancarlo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.